This podcast is a celebration of women who are shaping culture, influencing the world, and boldly stepping into the entertainment industry to create God-honoring content across all media platforms. I'm your host, Shari Rigby. Grab your coffee, settle in, and join me for an inspiring ride. Welcome, welcome. Today is another incredible day on the Women in My World called as Creatives, and I am so excited to welcome my dear friend, Marianne. Thank you for joining me today.
It's an honor to be here, Shari.
I am so excited to see you. We have so much to talk about. You have had an incredible couple of years. I mean, really, like all of a sudden it felt like things just started to roll like crazy for you. So I can't wait to get into everything, talk about all of it, and just hear how God is moving in your life and all the things that He's doing. So I want to talk a little bit about, when did you first sense that acting was a passion of yours, but a calling from God?
Wow. Well, I started acting when I was probably 8. I was a missionary kid in Madagascar, which a lot of people know. But for those of you who don't know, I lived in dorms away from my parents, and every year we would put on about 3 plays a year, and then all the parents would come and watch them, and I would get attention and I would be seen and I would feel so loved. As who was struggling with abandonment issues, it was something that I sorely needed, was to be seen. And then it developed into, I didn't want to be who I was, and so I wanted to be all these different characters. And so it was a lot of like kind of struggles that made me really enjoy the art of storytelling and the art of being an actor. But then it molded into, wow, this is like, God has made me an emotional person on purpose. God has actually given me these stories that I have lived through to make me able to do these things. It was all I could think about for years. And I tried to go to college for multiple things. I was applying to political science and to psychology, but didn't get into those. I just got into an acting college and really felt like, okay, there's no plan B. This is what I'm meant to do. And I do feel like the Lord has called me to it. And for many years, it was a very dry season. Like, I moved to LA to gung ho pursue this. And then it was like desert land for what felt like an eternity, but it was like more like 9 years or so. And I thought, did I get it wrong? Did I not feel called to this? Am I not called to this? God, just give me the desire for anything else. I will sit and be a receptionist and work phones, and like, I don't have to do this. I just want to follow you. And I felt like He was saying, you'll get it when you're ready. Just, you'll get it when you're ready. You know, that whole time I was like, okay, but I am ready, Lord. But I've realized that I was ready to, this is going to sound terrible. I was ready for myself to be worshiped. I was not ready for Him to be worshiped. I wasn't aware of how much my career and myself was an idol. And I think that I have come to a place now. I honestly just want to worship the Lord with what I'm doing. And if all He wants me to do is be a mom, or if all He wants me to do is sit at home and pray for other people, then I'm willing to do that. I just want to do what He's asking of me.
Such a great answer, because it's so authentic. I think that's one of the places we all have to get to, whatever the career is, the path. And I think that's why the question is, how did you come into this, your passion versus the calling, right? I talk about that all the time. It's like, is it my passion, or is it my desire, or is it God's calling? And that is something that we as believers really have to think about as we navigate our careers and really take this journey. I love what you said, though. There's so many things I'm thinking about going back. You've been part of many, many incredible movies. You've had so many, not only just the films that you've been in, but now you've been in television series. You just wrote a project. And it wasn't even that you just wrote in it. You wrote it, you starred in it, you produced it. And it was the very first time for Faith Channel. And so I want to navigate all of those. But I want to go back a little bit just as we start to dig into this conversation, is when the Lord did bring you to Los Angeles and it felt like it was a dry kind of desert season. What was it? What were some of the things that you felt like? How did you plug into your community? Where did the Lord start to lead you so that as it wasn't about you being worshiped. It was really about teaching you to follow, abide, and rest in him so that when he did bring you the things that he wanted you to have, you were able and really could look at it from a different perspective. So what were some of the things that led you to the place where you are today?
Well, community is, you hit that spot on the head. I think that one of the things that I love is that saying of opportunity meets preparedness. So I prepared a lot for if and when my career would one day take off. I studied and I went to acting class and I never gave that up. But I also was very intentional with my time and being a woman of my word and following through and connecting with different groups. Specifically, I feel like I was very involved with the women in my world, and you really, really helped shape who I am. You helped me to discover who I am in Christ. So I give you a lot of credit for that. I'm so grateful for the women in my world. I was also very involved with the Greenhouse Productions, which is a nonprofit and artist community. And Shun Lee, who you also know, he was someone else who really like kind of took me under his wing and was able to just keep me in the creative field. Even if I weren't, booking it, I was still involved in some ways. And then being involved in my church and on the worship team and just kind of discovering that God had other creative pursuits for me in that time. And one of the things that I thought nothing of when I was there is that when I was in a part of the greenhouse, they had something called Creative Lab. And I got to be an intern with them and got to write a couple scenes. They give you two characters and a location, and then you just write a scene. And I thought, like, oh, okay, I'm doing this as an intern. Like, I really just want to be an actor. Now realizing that really did prepare me for writing, kind of gave me like an easy way in. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I have training as a writer, but I did do some writing in that time. And so I feel like I stuck to training, I stuck to learning, and I stuck to my people, you know. And also it was very important for my husband and I to find a really good church home to make community around us. And so that was, I think, the more you focus on God, the less you focus on yourself. And the more you're able to just enjoy what he has for you, as opposed to like just thinking that you know the answers and know what you want to do with your life. But he actually has so many more plans than we could ever even picture.
And he set you up for success for those because he really did put you in a place and space so that you could learn and that you could grow. I always talk about that where as creators, it's creating this atmosphere. Not only are we in community so that it's the iron sharpening iron and we're learning from that community, but we're also learning other parts of the industry that really do ultimately make us better at when we're in front of the camera. I was just at a conference this weekend and I had multiple actresses, young pursuing actresses walk up and what can I do in my craft, or other ladies who are in different seasons of their life. And I said, learn every part of the process that you can behind the camera as well as in front of it. And so I really love that you dug in, you went and you started taking these classes. And not only were you taking them at the greenhouse with Shunli, who's fabulous and wonderful, but you also were writing and you were creating the content so that you actually got to write it, you got to work in it, and you got to see and exercise that part of the brain. I love that. I love that. I also thank you for the women in my world. I love, there's nothing more that drives my spirit is knowing that you have a community of women that you have been doing life with for many years now. And so to step in a little bit more of your personal life for a second, what does that look like for you? Because not only is it women from the women in my world, but it's also from you being in your church community. And in fact, I just was with Kelsey when she was talking about Calvary and your time together there. And so talk a little bit about that experience and how these relationships continue to pour into you today and how significant it was for you in the industry from Marianne personally, and also for you and your marriage, and then as you becoming a mom?
Yeah, wow. If there's one thing about me, I feel like I am a product of my friends almost. Like my friendships have helped sustain me and mold me and make me and brought life to me. There are so many people that I feel like have shaped me, and it's hard not to get emotional about all of the people that you think of when you're like, who has made an impact in my career? Who has made an impact on me personally? Just the
Mm,
women in my world. There's some friends that I met at your house who I am now in touch with every single day. We talk every single day. And going through motherhood and life and being vulnerable with other women
yeah.
without competition has been so life-giving, because the industry is so cutthroat and so harsh, and and it's so hard because like that worship of self almost feels necessary because you have to sell yourself, like pick me, and so you have to like build yourself up to thinking that you're somehow better than other people. And so
Mm,
there can be that really big battle with other actresses specifically because they beat you out and they, win over you. But there have been these incredible relationships that have been formed out of the women in my world specifically, where we just really support each other's journeys. And there is no passive aggressive backstabbing or just harshness. It's a revealing of true self, I think. And it's made me more open as a human. It's made me more vulnerable. And just going through life with others, being willing to share the good, the bad, the ugly. And
mhm.
in that, feeling like, oh, I can step into really who I am, not just the pretty version that the world wants to see. Who wants to see that anyway? Like, that's not even interesting.
That's true. It's like people really do want to know the authentic person, right? And
Yeah.
I think so often in our industry it's so distorted anyway because it doesn't look like what it is. One of the biggest things I laugh about is that everybody thinks that it's so glamorous. And it's only about 5 minutes of glamorous, and usually it's not even that because you're so full of anxiety and preparing for that 5 minutes on a red carpet or for a
Yeah.
release of something that but it's really all the hard work that goes into it, and it doesn't happen overnight. And so without
Mhm.
those relationships and those people and those ones who are standing by you and encouraging you and lifting your arms up and, there every moment when, things are falling apart or when it's either the low or the high. And those are the people that what do they call it? The ride or die, folks that you can really count on.
Yeah.
To be there and to share in those life experiences with you. And I think you
Mhm.
have, I want to say it's what, 4 women that you constantly kind of communicate with, maybe 5 in
There's
that
four
circle.
of us in our Women of My World little area. But I also have significantly many others from the
Yes.
women in my world. Yeah, it's amazing. And I will say also, when you focus on others, when you focus on being a good friend,
Mhm.
they trust you and their love for you grows without really knowing why. And I think just friendships are formed, and when friendships are formed and you really know someone, they will do anything for you. And in this career, like when we have opportunities for someone specifically, we will happily give those opportunities to those people who we know we can trust and rely on. I mean, this is a relationship business. And also, if you're just trying to get something from someone within business, you can tell
Yeah.
really easily, and it doesn't become friendship, it becomes transactional, and it's just like I kind of step back from those relationships.
I always tell people, our God is a God of relationship first with Him and then a relationship with others. And if you're in a
Mhm.
situation where God is the greatest connector as well. So if you go into every relationship feeling like, oh, I have to pitch them, or oh, it's maybe another step in, or it's another opportunity, rather than really just thinking about the relationship that you're in and entering into into that, all of a sudden people start to recognize that. And, I do believe divine appointments, right? Just like you were talking about Kelsey and Shunli. I mean, these have been relationships now, longevity, and also
Mhm.
that you have a true, authentic relationship with them so that they do know who Marianne is and that they can fully engage with you no matter what's happening in life or what's
Mhm.
happening in career. And that is, I think, at the end of the day, the coolest thing. We want that in the industry. We face too much of the other stuff and we don't
Yeah.
want it.
I think that that has been the biggest shift for me after
Yeah.
having kids was I now have it was just a good visual for me of something is more important than myself. That happened to be my kids, and they come before my career, they come before myself. And when you don't have the time to focus so much on yourself, you're able to just let things go more. I don't need this acting job. I want it, but I don't need it because I have my kids and my husband, but I mostly I have my faith in knowing that God has
Yeah.
good things for me. I don't have to strive. I just have to wait on
Yeah.
him and just let him lavish his love on me. I know that's easier said than done, but I know that he wants me to enjoy him and enjoy living and enjoying being here, not just the hustle of trying to be something in a place where he doesn't even like that door's not open for me in that moment.
Yeah. Well, it's the kind, and it is so funny because I think about this all the time. There are parts that just are not for us either. Early in my career, I couldn't get my head around that. I was like, I can do anything. I can do anything. And I'm not saying that that's not a possibility, but I do know that as I've gone in and I've now, as a director on the other side, or there were times that for me, I really had to learn how to, even when I went to work as a coach on LifeMark or a coach on, the Forge, it's not about me. It's about lifting somebody else up. It's about
Hmm.
encouraging, seeing them that they were actually better for those roles than I could have ever been. I was
Hmm.
laughing, we both know Sharon Lanier, and she was part of a project we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, A Lady in Defiance. And
Hmm.
I kept having everybody go, you should play this certain role. You should just do it. Just do it. Just do it. And I was like, I'm going to audition for it. And I auditioned for it.
Yeah.
And Spawn beat me. And we're all sitting around and we're listening to the auditions. And what I realized is that when she starts to play that character, she literally had the hair on all of our arms standing up. And we were just like, oh, you're just so moved by it. And I'm going, that's her role. But as I've grown, I've realized that not only, I mean, in multiple things, I've really learned that. But I want to ask you too about, did you ever try to talk yourself out of this calling? Because I know we talked a little bit about that, where you went off to do some other things in college. If so, and when you did, because I know you did at probably some point, how did that happen? What happened? And how did you continue just to go, nope, I'm going to continue to navigate this? How did you get rid of the self doubt?
I have a very supportive husband who
Mm.
believes in me and believes in what God has called me to. So sometimes it's literally him saying, stop it, don't give up. And we've been married for a long time now. I have felt like I needed permission from people, maybe parents, maybe others, like outside permission from someone to say, you're on the right track. But the only person who can say that to you is yourself. You're
Yeah.
the only one who's in charge of your life, technically, aside from God, of course. But
You're
but but
like,
like you get to make your choices and really just wanted to hear someone say, you are in the right place, you can do it. And I think when I got accepted into acting school in college, I think that was like a big yes for me. Even I started college in England and then I quit, got married and moved to the States, and I auditioned for a college, Palm Beach Atlantic in Florida. And I kid you not, my audition was atrocious. I did my monologue, and halfway through my monologue, I stopped and couldn't remember my words and just went completely blank. They were like, it's okay, start over. So I started over my monologue. The exact same spot I stopped. And I was just like, guys, I don't even know what's happening. And they were like, oh, it's okay. Just go to your next monologue. And by that
mm,
point, I was so shook that I didn't even think about what I was doing. I just, vomited the words probably.
mm,
And I still somehow got in. And I told the professor later that I'm sure that God whispered in your ear, just let her in. It's going to be okay. Just let her in anyway. And I just felt like it was a real confirmation of that
Mhm.
even when I struggle through it, it's still what I'm supposed to be doing. And we can all mess up and still have it be what we're supposed to do.
Absolutely. Well, I think those actually are what refine us and make us even better,
Hmm.
because we used to talk about this where it's like, when God in his word, it says when he's the strongest when we're the weakest, right? And there
Hmm.
are those moments we forget about being in those weak positions or being in those positions that feel so difficult that we forget, like, wait a minute, if I would just stop, take a deep breath and call on the name of the Lord, it's his strength that provides. It's his we've already been, anointed and our cup overfloweth. So, but it's really hard because so many times we want to talk ourselves out of that. We don't even go back there. I mean, I really have to take a deep breath anymore and go, okay, let me think about how to approach this particular situation when it's
Yeah.
not going exactly the way that I feel like maybe it should. And
Yeah.
then how does it hinder me as I start to do some self doubt, self talk, and then I have to like reshape, rethink, and then refocus.
I think that one of the things that is so special is when you try and try and try and try and it doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden, God will just introduce someone or something will click and you didn't even try really
Yeah.
hard. Like in my time in LA, I tried to get an agent or a manager. I tried to get representation and it was so hard. And I would just come up against the same whatever excuses that they would give me or just no response at all. And it was so disheartening. And
Mm,
then one day you were like, hey, my friend Jean is an agent. Would you like to get in touch? And I was like, what? And it just felt like she just fell from the sky into my lap. And obviously it was through your connection, but
mm,
there was a reason you connected us, which I'm really grateful for. And I've had this amazing relationship with my agent, Jean, and she has got me into these rooms that I normally wouldn't. And because of her, I booked Vindication, which is a TV show that I've been on. And I'm just really grateful for the Lord to just plop things into your lap. Like you don't have to work. Like you don't have to work so hard because he will give it to you when you're ready and when it's the right time. Say that I shouldn't have pursued it those few years, but I definitely should have trusted him a lot more.
Well, I think that's a good reminder for all of us, right? We're like, and it's a great point. I do believe that timing is so specific, and I always say people provision and plan. And so how
Mhm.
is God's people connecting with you? What is the provision? A lot of times we think it's provision only financially, but there's other provision, right? People that he's going to bring or communication, relationships, work, whatever that might be, and then his plan. And so timing is so significant too, because
Mhm.
I think even with Jean, she was coming up in the industry also and really kind of making a way for herself in the faith world. And so people did reach out to her and had this really kind of one on one relationship with her. And so when those roles came into the faith space, she was able to really go in and, put her roster of men and women to work. And that's just to me, it's really that. It's people provision and plan, and God's plan is
Mhm.
perfect. Hey friends, if you're enjoying today's episode, we'd love your support. Hit like, subscribe, comment, and share this video, which helps us grow the channel that directly supports the women in my world and our mission to develop, educate, and launch Christian women in the entertainment and media industry. Every action you take truly makes a difference in our ministry. And now we'd like to share a brief video about the heart and mission behind the women in my world. Thank you for being a part of this incredible journey with us. Hi, I'm Shari Rigby, the founder of the Women in My World. Our goal is simple but powerful. We focus on developing, educating, and launching Christian women in entertainment and media. Our aim is to train up emerging talent, empower them to craft impactful, God-honoring content across various platforms, and contribute to positive global change through leadership roles. We invest in women by providing opportunities to learn essential skills in their desired field. Through hands-on education and on-the-job training, we build a community of like-minded women who shepherd others to grow and flourish in their careers. The Women in My World has helped support and launch women into key positions, such as producers, script supervisors, production and costume designers, directors, makeup and hair artists, and so many more. These women have gone on to expand their resumes and their relationships, which have provided opportunities to work on major network television shows and feature films. Due to the small percentage of Christian women in decision-making roles in entertainment, believers must invest in their training, mentoring, and discipleship. These women can then become a voice to change in the negative narratives influencing our culture and shed light on topics we desperately need to tackle from a biblical worldview. The Women in My World is honored to help support women and their careers in entertainment and media as they bring redemptive stories to life and uplift, encourage, and influence the world for Christ. Let's talk a little bit about, as far as the projects that you've worked on, you mentioned Vindication, but I think Vindication came before The Forge because I think you were already working on that. So first of all, talk a little bit about Vindication and how the auditioning process, what it looks like now for you, how many seasons you've been involved in it. Talk about some of the pros and the cons even that you've had to deal with and through this. You're a reoccurring. It's the coolest thing. You're on a cop show. So talk a little bit about Vindication and the team that you work with.
Vindication has been such a blessing. Jared is awesome. People talk about a team or crew being your family, and it really, I really genuinely love being on that set. It really is. The way he leads is really lovely. I was working as a stand-in for many years, as you know, and we were doing a pickup for a day a few months after a movie had wrapped that I had worked on. And that day, I really felt God say, "This is your last day as a stand-in." Because I had felt bitter about being a stand-in because I didn't want to be just a stand-in. And I knew that if you feel bitter about it, you're not in the right place. My heart wasn't in the right place with it. It's a wonderful job and it's incredible. It was such a godsend to work in the industry. I learned so much being a stand-in, but I really felt like God was like, "This is your last day." And so that day, I was actually working on sides for the Vindication audition. And I was researching FBI agents and what it takes to be an FBI agent, and really just got into the nitty gritty, not just like, I'm going to just say these words on a page. I'm actually going to look into and do my homework of the character and the things that they do, and just really was like, okay, I'm going to take this role. Thank you very much. But also, I had just gotten headshots that were like sweet mom next door kind of a thing. And so when I got this FBI agent role audition, I was like, well, that's not going to happen because that's not my type. But for some reason, it just clicked and I booked the role and was so grateful for Jared in that moment to take a chance on me. Because I felt like this was my first big thing. I really worked hard on the words and the character, and I got to play with Brett Varvel, who you know, and he is such a great scene partner. And our first day together, we kind of like, it was the first time we met and we were about to film together, and we're supposed to be this team who's worked together for a while. And we kind of just instantly clicked in that way of like, yes, we are partners, like this is it. And we kind of were able to figure out who each other were very quickly, like that first day, and love working with him.
Awesome.
Yeah, and obviously, one of the things I will say about playing a character that is stronger than maybe perhaps myself, I was in an airplane, and you know how you wait for the people in front of you to go, and then you get up, and then, there's this way of getting off an airplane. But the person behind me, he was this burly man, and he just kind of like stood up in front of me, like almost banged into me. And I had just got off of playing this agent. And so I was like, "Excuse me." And I just got up and I went in front of him and just kind of like took on her strength. And I thought that was really fun to be able to learn from my character.
I love it. Well, and I think, when you get to work across from people like Brett and so many of those that you've had an opportunity to be with, it's just a wonderful experience. He's such an encouraging partner. I think he's just a really great, solid guy. Tell me a little bit about as far as you go into Vindication and you're working on that series. Now, prior to that, you were tell me about a few of the other projects that you've been on. What's been one of your most favorite projects to work on where you really felt, because you were doing the stand-in. I know that
Mhm.
you did that for a while, and that was in Hollywood, and you were on a lot of great shows. So it's not like you were doing this just for projects that were not, studio or already big name projects. You were doing it in the vein of real studio
Mhm.
series, running series regulars that you were stepping in front of. How
Mhm.
did that vary from you stepping onto set the very first day that you got to step onto set and be a part of
Mm.
the station? Like, what was that like for you? And talk just a little bit about that.
I think at that moment, I felt really comfortable in my own skin, which I know, helped working as a stand in because you think there's this hierarchy of people, but I
Yeah.
noticed they breathe the exact same air as me. We are the exact same. I got to stand in on a movie with Reese Witherspoon and Ashton Kutcher and
Hmm.
got to do a rehearsal, like a whole day rehearsal just with Ashton because she was out of town. And so we were working together and I felt like I could hold my own. And I
Hmm.
felt really proud of that. And when you have, all these producers, all these big directors and DPs and name actors that you work with, and you feel like you can hold your own, that of course was really strengthening and just getting to feel like, yeah, i I could do this. I belong here. I can work with this. And having taken acting classes for so long and really working on material, I think that that's something that also prepared me for Vindication because FBI agent talk isn't normal Marianne speak. And so the memorization of it was challenging, but it was also something I was prepared for because I had taken scene study with Robert Davanzo for so many years, where we had to memorize, 10 pages every week to be ready to go on stage. So it wasn't like accidental that I was ready for it. And one of my favorite things that I'm sure we'll talk about was Christmas at the Cabin, which was the movie that I wrote
Yep.
and acted in past year. It's 90 pages and you probably have like 70 pages to memorize for a
Yep.
3-week shoot. And
Yep.
so every day you're doing like 8 pages of memorized dialogue, and you
Yep.
don't, like, the way that the timeline was, we didn't have time to memorize everything before we shot because we didn't know we were shooting until like a few weeks before.
Yeah.
Every day you're like, you had a 12-hour day, now you're tired, oh but you have to memorize 10 pages, oh but you're
Mhm.
tired, but you have to memorize 10 pages. And so that muscle is something that I definitely was prepared for,
Yeah.
that had been working. And I think that sometimes we just like wish we could be on a movie and just like lead a movie, but there is so much more that goes into it that you're not even aware that you need before you go into it.
Isn't that crazy? That preparation, I always, what is it? It's when preparation meets talent meets, and that's really where you start to see how it all comes together because you really
Mhm.
do understand that, man, that preparation for all of those years, working that muscle in my brain to get me to a place where I could go and I could step onto set. I feel that confidence when I step in. I have my lines, I'm off book, I'm ready to go, but I feel
Mhm.
at peace.
Mhm.
Right. It's such a great thing. And we are going to talk about Christmas in the Cabin. We're going to move on. One of the questions I always ask, and before we go into some other stuff is, how do you define success? Because we've talked about some things already. And I think that's a big question always is how do you individually define success as to where you're at in your life and your career?
I mean, I feel strangely very successful right now. Not necessarily because of where I'm at in my career, it's where I feel like I'm at with serving the Lord and being at peace with
Mhm.
who He's made me and where He's placed me. And so I guess I would say success is knowing that God's got your back. and just being at peace with that, because then you can be successful, and then you are successful no matter where you're at. And you can't say, well, only the people who have attained this within your career, you are only successful. But if you're living in a village in Africa, you obviously can't find success, because I don't believe that to be true. I believe that everyone can have success, like,
Mm.
daily. I don't see it as like a career milestone. I think that's different. I think success is being confident in knowing that God has placed you where you're at, and you can be at peace in that, and just live knowing that you are serving the Lord in your best capacity.
I love that. I love that. Well,
Yeah.
that leads me into the next question because, I think about what you're saying about peace and just it feels like being present, right? Being in peace, knowing that God's got you. But how do you guard your identity with auditions, rejection, criticism, other things might hit you? How do you guard your identity and those things that happened? Maybe you didn't get the job. What does that look like for you?
That's a very good question. And I don't know that I do it very well. I honestly think that self-taping has helped me so much,
Mm,
because I don't have to sit in a room of 40 people who look just like me and question which of them is going to get it and I'm not. I just
yeah.
assume, well, they probably just didn't hire anyone and it's not even going, so that's why they didn't hire me.
I love it. Love it. Yeah, they didn't get funding. That's what I always tell myself. Oh, they didn't get funding. Too bad.
No, but because I have struggled a lot with comparison issues and self-confidence issues, not hiding that at all. But it sounds cheesy, but knowing who you are in Christ
Yeah.
is really helpful. Knowing that He delights in me even when someone else didn't choose me for something. But also,
Mhm.
you realize that people don't choose you not because they don't choose you, but because someone else fit the role better. And so I think that just wisdom, knowing how things are written and how things are
Yeah.
made. It's
Yeah.
not always, you might have been the best one for the role, but the studio decided to go a different direction. Like, the other person they already hired had blonde hair, so we can't have two blondes. And,
Right.
we need to shoot tomorrow. So, like, just all these different things that you have no control over, and realizing that really your peace is what you have control over, and all these other things you don't.
Yeah.
So I can choose to be bitter and jealous, or I can choose to know that if something wasn't for me, it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's so good. But I think it's stepping back and taking a look at all the things that you just mentioned.
mhm,
We don't think about those pieces so often when we look at it. But I think as you and I have gone through our career and stepping into different viable positions in the industry, not necessarily just in front of the camera, but even when you talk about writing something or producing something, or casting something, or you're dealing with a studio, or maybe you're dealing with a short list, or there's so many different things. And I think we have to stop judging ourselves on our talent. I had to know without a shadow of a doubt that the reality is that there were so many other pieces to the puzzle that this team or whoever it was trying to put together. And I was only one piece of like a
mhm,
1,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. And,
mhm,
and so I had to really come into that. I think also the other thing you said about auditioning, and especially with doing them, the tapes, for me, I always despised auditioning. I'm just straight up. Like it just was not it wasn't a sweet spot. I never really enjoyed it. Something happened to me in 2024 at the end of it. And I realized that one, it was really part of my job because it wasn't the auditioning piece, that it was really them trying to understand if I was the right person. And for me too, like, am I right for this?
mm,
Number two, I had to look at it with a different perspective. And man, Marianne, the moment that I shifted my perspective and went, auditioning is part of my job and I love it. If I
mm,
don't get it, it's okay. But I just had a new experience. It just taught me what I could do better, or
mm,
whatever it might have been. And so it's been such a great learning experience. So I love, but it's not always been easy. It's been very,
yeah,
very difficult
yeah,
in a lot of ways. I also think something too, when you talk about the identity factor, if we could shift the lens of how we see these pieces being put together, we would have a better understanding of it. I want to talk a little
Yeah.
bit. I know we're running on time here, but I loved it. I got to spend some time with you, not as much as I would have loved to. And not only did you and I get to be on Divine Influencer together, but we were also on The Forge, which
Hmm.
was an incredible movie with the Kendrick brothers. And we got to go and work in Albany, Georgia together. And that was an incredible learning experience, again, for me as well. What did you take away from The Forge and how did you feel about being part of that
I
particular?
was thrilled. I was so in the middle of moving cross country. And so I just felt like, hey, Lord, am I giving up this dream of being an actor? And then before I'd even moved, getting this opportunity to come and film with the Kendricks, who are so professional. Like this set was so wonderful. I really loved my experience there. I think it taught me a lot as an actor. Yeah, I'm super grateful for that opportunity. And
I love it. I love it.
yeah.
And also, we got to have you on Divine Influencer. You came in and you rocked it out with Jesse Medcalf and got to star opposite of him. I'm sure there's a lot of women who are swooning over that, right? But that was awesome just to have you in that position as well. You did such a fantastic job on that. I mean, you went
Thank you.
literally from like playing this very upscale television host to being in the forge and you were working in a warehouse, and it's
Yes,
such a different
yes.
character.
Yes, such a different. And can you believe that Divine Influencer was 3 years ago? Almost
No,
exactly 3 years ago.
no, I know. I keep going. In fact, I was talking about it yesterday. I'm like, I'm ready to shoot. What are we shooting right now?
Yeah, it was great for me to recognize that, wow, 3 years and so much has happened, because it did go from, you know, flying out to do Divine Influencer for a day and working opposite Jesse. I was very nervous that day,
Hmm.
and I'm glad you're saying,
I
but no,
know.
I
I would have never
was
been able to tell. You were
I
amazing.
was so nervous that day, but I felt like that was a step in the direction, You go
Yeah.
from like being nervous, but then booking the forge and being there for 10 days, I think it was something like that. And there is something so different between playing like a character who's supposed to be beautiful to a character who's supposed to not care what she looks like and has probably never looked in the mirror. There is just such a difference in like how you mentally go into
Yeah.
that kind of a role.
And you prepare. Yes.
Yeah.
It's awesome. You get to stretch
Yeah.
yourself. So you're not only playing and then over the last couple years it's been you're working as a detective, you're working as I should say agent and vindication, then you're a warehouse worker in the forge and you're this incredible host on a television show in Divine Influencer. And then the next big project you go into and it's a project Christmas in the Cabin, and not only did you star in it but you wrote it. So tell us a little bit about that journey and what that looked like for you, because I know that was stepping in some obedience for you too, that God was
Hmm.
calling to that project.
Yeah. Yeah. And I sometimes the word calling is hard because you're like, okay, well, did he like call you loudly from the sky and tell you to do this? But he very gently whispered to me. Um, And I think it just reveals it in different ways. It's hard to get a job as an actor. So I remember specifically right before we did Birdie's song that God
Yeah.
was like, if you can't, if you're knocking on all these doors, build your own door. And so that's how Birdie's song came to be. And I kind of felt this again, starting the writing of Christmas at the Cabin, where I was like, I just want to write a scene for myself and some friends, and we'll shoot it super cheap in a cabin, and that'll be it. And we'll have new material, and it'll be fun. And that's how it started out. I was just writing a couple of scenes, and then I felt the Lord saying, just keep writing. And I was like, well, who am I to do that? Um, and just felt like, don't let anyone stop you because you're new at it. Just keep going. And
Mm.
so I just wrote it and had some help from Sarah Lejeune, who is she was a script like doctor. She helped me kind of structure it. And then I got her notes and let it sit for 3 months. Didn't do anything more to it. But then I was like, okay, my kids are back in school. I can start revising it again, which normally Before, if I got notes on something, I would feel discouraged and like, okay, I need to just, I don't have it in me to keep going. Like they didn't like it. But this time it was different. It was like constructive. It was how to make it better. And so I revised it. And then I really felt the Lord say, make sure you do a table read before the end of the year. And I had all these people in mind that I wanted to ask, but I felt like they were too big for me because I don't know, there is just this thing that like of the who am I?
Yeah.
I'm nobody. But then I just felt like the Lord was saying, just ask them and see. Like you won't get it if you don't ask. And so I
Mhm.
asked them, and everyone said yes. Everyone was very willing.
Yeah.
And then from that table read, Sharon Oliphant was really interested, and she said, can I produce this with you? And of course, I was like, did the Lord ask you to tell me that? Yes, you can. And then she got in touch with the Faith Channel, and they didn't have original content yet. But for some reason, the script was exciting to multiple people,
Mhm.
and they decided to take a chance on it. And so we ended up, I mean, we had the table read December, and then we were filming in April. So
Wow.
you can see how quickly it went from just a table read with some friends to filming a full feature, and then it came out at Christmas, and it's just been literally miraculous how it's happened.
Mm.
Because again, who am I? But then I also go, wow, who are you, Lord? Like you are the one who's orchestrated it all. And so even if I am no one, you are everything, and you can make anything happen.
So good. I mean, I think, and I love too that it was, again, people, provision, plan. It's like, here's
Mhm.
this movie, the people come together, the plan is in action, and now you have a movie that you've written, starred in, and produced. And it's the first feature film for Faith Channel that they launched with. And I think that's huge. It's so exciting to see that as part of the process that you've walked through. And I
Mhm.
just, congratulations on that. It's
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you. I learned a lot. I learned a lot, and I'm really, truly very grateful. And Faith Channel took it like I didn't end up being a producer on it. They decided to just take it, which I was grateful for. So they have been in charge of all the posts, all the distribution, all of that. So I got to do the writing and do the acting and kind of have the creative side, and then just let the other part go that I'm not the producing isn't my, it's not my lane.
I get it. I get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there's things that we can do and it's good to understand it, but it's definitely people are really cut from a certain cloth to produce.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to recognize the things that I'm good at and acknowledge that I'm not good at everything. And it's not, I'm not going to be
No.
everything. And that's great because there
Yep.
are people who are much better than me. Like my cleaning lady, I got a cleaning lady for the first time, and she came over and she organized my linen closet. And I didn't know that could even be done.
You're like, hallelujah.
This is her gift. It's not mine.
I love it. I love it. Well, we can always lean into those things and look at I love that. I'm all about that. Tell me a little bit, because I know we're wrapping up, but you also came on to work with me on another project this last year. It's our first dramatic audio podcast, and it is serialized, and it is fantastic. It's on a book called A Lady in Defiance, and so it's 9 episodes. You play a character that goes from Daisy to being basically renamed because of what she does with her life in this particular series. And she then becomes Molly. What was it like for you to, this was now all voiceover, right? It's an audio dramatic podcast series. What was that like for you? And just, in the preparation, how did it different from being on an audio versus a visual piece?
One thing that's amazing about audio is you can do it in your pajamas and nobody would know. So you are all about being comfortable. But I find voice work so fun. Really, when I read something, I feel the emotions. And the way
Yeah.
that this was written was so beautifully written. And there's just so much emotion on the page. And when you read it and you feel it, it's so fun to be able to just experience it in your voice. And there's so many things that can happen. And I absolutely loved loved doing that. I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but it was kind of easy because it was fun. Like it was just I really enjoyed it.
I know. I love voiceover stuff, and you get to just be these characters. And, next time we get together, I'll have to share a little bit with you about when I asked Matt to do some of my background voices. I made a date night of it, and it was probably some of the most fun we've had in a long time together. Just really enjoyed it. So
Oh, how
you,
fun.
you and Kristen should try that. And then anybody listening, just pull your husband in and let them enjoy the process with you. It was so much fun. I can't wait for it to be released. Wait until you hear it. It is absolutely phenomenal. It is being released in Dolby Atmos. And so you actually get the immersive experience just like you would for if you were watching something on your television. So you get to hear, a bird or, moving from one side to the other. And it's just a really phenomenal piece. So I'm excited to release that in the spring. Okay, quickly. What are your must-haves on set that you cannot live without?
Earbuds.
Oh,
100% earbuds, earbuds, earbuds. That is what I would highly recommend because sometimes you have these characters that you really need to focus in your emotion, your emotional life has to be protected before you go on to set. And that was one thing that I often haven't had and always miss. That, and then also physical hard copy of the script, whether
yep.
it be sides or an actual printed out version and a highlighter for my lines. I'm very visual, so those are definitely my top must-haves
Your top
for sure.
must-haves.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the earbuds. They always work too because if you need something and you can emotionally or you're listening to something, right? It's like, oh,
Mm.
um, tell us if there's what's coming up for you and how can people find you and support you?
I support me by praying for me, praying that I be obedient to the Lord's call. I am currently working on some writing. I'm writing a couple different things, and I'm very excited about all of them.
Yeah.
And can't wait to share more about that when that is shareable.
Well, I can't wait. I know we have some things in the works together, and just so excited to continue to support you and to see how you. I mean, you're so talented in all these areas. It's just
Thank
incredible
you.
to see how the Lord keeps using you. If you had something or one thing to say to a woman who is listening right now, what would you tell her to encourage, inspire her, and to just tell her to keep going? What would you say to her?
Yeah, obviously, don't give up. And just because it's not happening yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And God's timeline looks different from ours. And if you feel like there's nothing else you want to do, pursue it and don't give up. Um, I'm a big proponent of a little bit of crazy hope. And so just hope big because he's big and if he's given you a desire in your heart and you are pursuing him as much as you're pursuing your career or even more, then he is going to give you the desires of your heart. So find your love for God and then he will provide you with all the other stuff you need.
I love that. That's so good. Well, I love you, dear friend, and thank you so much for joining me today. And I love, love, love that you have been a part of the Women in My World and part of my world for a very long time. And you have been called to be the creative that God has called you into to tell great stories. And most of all, I think, Marianne, when I think about you, you are such a bright light and such a joy to so many that you encounter on set. So I would just encourage you to keep being that. But I'm so thankful for you. I'm thankful for your time today and joining me, and just love you. Continue to shine bright for Jesus. And I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you, Shari. I'm so excited for all that you have coming up, and just thank you for being who you are and for following God's lead for you. Just thank you for being who you are.
We hope today's episode inspired you. If it did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with somebody in your world so we can reach more and more amazing women in entertainment and media. We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a comment below. Your support truly means the world to us, and it helps us keep doing this important work. Also, don't miss out on signing up for our newsletter, and you get our acting prep guide for free. It's packed with tips to help you step into your purpose. If you feel led, also please consider donating to support our ministry. All the links are in the show notes below. We can't wait to hear from you to join us next time.